This call is being recorded.
This is the Uber conference too?
Kind of?
That's the same
Is
system?
it the same thing?
Sounds like the same system.
It's probably either that or web.
You just say mute.
Yeah, I was just thinking, where is mute?
Hello.
Hello?
Hey, is this Jordan?
We're not sure Jordan's on the phone yet. Jen, is this
Oh,
you?
gotcha. This is Jen. How are you?
Awesome. Welcome to the call, Jen. Thanks for taking time to be with us today.
You're so welcome. I'm sorry about the last minute shift in schedule. I am not used to my new time block of Thursdays.
That's okay. That's okay. We just appreciate your time, so we're happy that it worked. I know Jordan, this is our original coaching time with him, so he's more than likely just finishing up a coaching call right before he's jumping on this line. Him and I prepared a list of questions, and I think what he's going to have you do when he jumps on is just kind of give us a background of your real estate career thus far, and then, like I said, we have a list of questions. So we'll just give it another minute for him to jump on the line.
That sounds great. No problem.
Thanks, Jen. We also have a few of our MAPS coaching clients on the call, too, so you kind of have a range of people on the call today. There's 5 agents from our team here in Minnesota, and then some agents across the country, and probably even some of their buyer agents on their teams as well.
Yay, that's so exciting. I love when I can get to do these calls. I've done some of them for Dan's coach, and who's my Rainmaker, and I've done some for Aaron, who's my coach. So it's fun for me to get to participate in these.
Awesome. I just sent him a text to make sure he's jumping on, and we should be good to go here in a minute. While we're waiting for him, who else is on the call?
Nate Pence here.
Hi, Nate.
What up?
Missy Hargate.
Hi, Missy.
Hello. Cassandra Van.
Hello. All right. Hey, I'm here.
Hi, Jordan.
Hey, Olivia.
Jen's on the call, and we have a couple other MAPS clients on the call, and then there's 5 from our team here as well.
Sweet. Hi, Jen. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm running behind, and I apologize. So you ready to get started?
I am ready to get started.
Perfect. So, Jen, if you don't mind, can you take us through your real estate journey, kind of, where it started, and then the highlights that led you up to, the 2017 closing 223 deals? Can you kind of walk us through that?
Sure, I will. So I was not always with KW. I have been part of the Dan Holt team at Keller Williams. This will be my 6th year. Prior to that, I was with a different brokerage. I initially got my real estate license because my husband and I were buying rental properties. At the other brokerage, I was a buyer's agent there, so I have always really been focused on buyers. My biggest year at the other brokerage, I closed 16 units. And quite honestly, kind of thought I was a big deal doing that. So I didn't really know what to expect with KW. And Dan, that I work with now, he came to me and started trying to recruit me about 6 months before I joined the team. And I met with him, and he had a huge vision, a big picture of what it could be, what it would look like to be somebody that could build a team within a team. So under the umbrella of the Dan Holt team. So when I joined his team, we sat down and he really wrote out a business plan for me. And I had never had that before. I'd never had that kind of guidance. So we sat down and we talked about different measures of accountability and different things and, how many calls I needed to make and how many appointments I needed to go on and all of the good things that come with KW training. And so my goal that first year was to close 50 units. And I ended up closing 49. And it was messy, very, very messy that year. We didn't have a lot of systems in place. And I tell the good with the bad. I tell the story a fair amount, and I try to tell all of it so people get the real picture of what it looks like. That first year, though, it was incredibly, incredibly messy. I worked a lot of nights. I worked a lot of weekends. I do have 2 little kids that are now 11 and 6. So, take 6 years off that, and I had some babies. And, that next year I wanted growth and I wanted opportunity to get bigger and to do more things. And at the same time, I didn't really know how without sacrificing more quality of life. So that year, we really became focused on 20% activities. So what are those top 20% activities that I could do so that I could increase my production? And what were those 80% activities that I could get rid of? So that was really the year that we really started looking at leverage and different pieces of leverage. And so that next year, my goal was to close 65 units. And I ended up closing 72. So what that looked like, hey, I'm sorry. Sorry, my rainmaker is coming looking for me. I never looked at my calendar. I apologize. I put out my car so I could avoid him. So I'm sorry. So my goal that year was 65 units, and I ended up closing 72. And the pieces of leverage that I added that year, we had a contract to close person already. And then we added another part-time assistant. And it was a part-time assistant that was for the team and that I was able to utilize. So it was the first time that not only did I have someone that could set my closings and kind of coordinate things with the client for that period of time, but they really started taking over setting the inspection part of it and being the point of contact from contract to close. The year before, we just had the one person, so they didn't have enough availability to help Dan on the listing side and then me on the buy side. So then we really kind of started diving into, okay, now what? I've closed 72 units.
Jen, can I ask you a real quick question?
Of course.
Yeah, on the part-time assistant, so that person was, when you said that they were working with you and were for the team, what specifically was the part-time assistant doing for you the year that you did the 72?
She was really handling all of contract to close minus inspections. So she would set the inspection, but she wasn't handling the repair request, if that makes sense. So she wasn't doing any of the negotiating or any agent responsibilities. The year before, when I did the 49, we had someone that was supposed to be doing that and really just did it for Dan. Really wasn't doing anything on my end of very much on my end of things. She'd scan stuff for the title company and set a closing, but that was really all she was doing. So it was really just those pieces of that piece from contract to close.
Got it. Okay. And that year that you did 72, how many hours per week were you working then? Did it go down from the year before with the 49? Did it stay the same or did it go up?
It stayed the same that year, honestly. Those were probably my 2 hardest years. Dan is a worker, and he would do whatever it took to kind of hit the numbers, and I just followed along with that. It really wasn't until that following year when I added a MAPS coach that I got quality of life back.
Okay, and the year you did 72 was which year? What was it, 2014?
My second year with Dan. It was, okay, let me think. 2016 was a showing agent. Yeah, 2014.
Got it. Okay. All now the next year, what did you do?
So then the next year, the goal was for me to close 90 units, and I ended up at 110. And that was pre-showing agent. So the pieces of leverage that I added that year, we added somebody to help with lead generation, and I added a MAPS coach. And I wouldn't call my MAPS coach for leverage. However, it was an additional coach in my world. And what happened was, Dan came to me and he was like, you've outdone anything I ever did on the buy side. Can you've got to get into MAPS coaching. We need for someone to help us build systems and models because we're not really very good at those things. So I got a MAPS coach that year. I think it was in March, and he was able to really shine a flashlight into every aspect of my business within Dan's business. And he started trying to build efficiencies where there were none. So he was finally the one to work with me on setting expectations with clients, setting expectations with our team, setting expectations, really for myself of this is what I'm going to do and this is what I'm not going to do. These are the number of houses I'm going to show before we do a regroup. These are the nights I'm going to work, and those are non-negotiables. And so he got control of my schedule. That year, as crazy as it sounds, I did 110 units without any help on the production side as far as showing. And It was my best year as far as timing went.
So how many hours were you working on average that year, the year that you did the 110?
Hours working, I was still probably 50-ish, 55 maybe. I only worked 2 nights a week, and I worked Tuesday, Thursday night, and I would work one day of the weekend. So I never worked Saturdays. I always worked Sundays. And my reasoning was kind of ridiculous, but it was, I go to church on Sunday mornings, and I was dressed up already, and I was fine to go show. I wanted a day without hair and makeup and all the stuff on a Saturday. Yep. So, and, it was a little bit of a limiting belief at first. I was like, gosh, everybody has to show houses on Saturday. And you don't. There are ways to set up those expectations with clients. And the balance to that, or the other piece of that was this, lead generation person that we brought on. Because up until that point, I was handling all of our inbound leads. I was handling whether that was a phone call or internet lead or, a seller that turned into a buyer. I was doing all of it. And Dan hired somebody, and this was really before the ISA OSA model was announced. We didn't have a name for it. And he hired Emily, who was really going to do lead, generating, lead nurturing, lead systems, follow-up, all that good stuff for the listing site. And she was there maybe 60 days and came to me and said, I've got extra capacity and I want more opportunity. Can I take the leads from you on the buy side? And that was so huge for me because, first of all, it took me a little bit to let go of it. And when I did, she was much better at it than I was. It was more consistent. She was making more purposeful touches. She was in the office while I was in the field. So instead of going from this crazy, peak and valley type business where it's oh my gosh, my hair's on fire, I've got so many things to do, to I have nothing to do, I have no one to talk to. It was like that. She got rid of the peaks and valleys. She was able to consistently fill that pipeline, and it changed my world. I mean, between her and hiring a coach that year, those were the pivotal points.
Okay. And do you mind me asking, Jen, what approximately your GCI was off the 110?
I'm going to be honest that I never know those numbers. I should know them, so don't tell my coach I don't know that. I only always know transaction count.
Got it. And with the
our average sales price here is $175,000, if that helps.
Okay. Yeah, I'm from Wichita, so it's not much different. It's about 145. Yeah, so I get it. So with the lead generation, but the 110, the first thing I thought of is, you're very selective in the nights that you're working. You're not working every day of the weekend. How do you get those buyers to wait? Because it seems like that would be something most buyer specialists would have a hard time wrapping their brain around, as setting those expectations and then the buyer's not just going to someone else. So how did you do that? How did you get them to wait for you?
It was a lot of scripting. I didn't tell them I was going to the lake on Saturday or that I was going to a soccer tournament or whatever it was that I was going to do. It was either I was booked or the seller couldn't show, or there were things that we had in place. Saturdays, I think people make a big deal of because those are the days that fill up the fastest because we allow them to. So, if we say to somebody, okay, what's your availability? Well, I really like to look at on nights and weekends. Well, of course they do. They don't want to take time off of their work to go look with you. However, if you start setting the expectations of, this is how fast our market is moving, and I'm meeting you for a buyer consult on Tuesday, and the houses, your top 3 houses that we find right now, will not be here Saturday. Are you willing to wait and miss out on the opportunity? Or are you willing, I can go tonight, I had somebody cancel tonight, and I can take you tonight, or we can go tomorrow. Would your lunch hour work better? Those scripts work very, very well. And people don't want to miss out. They don't want to settle for a second, their second choice home. And they understand it if you make it where it's about them. I want to find you the best house at the best price in your time frame. And what I'm telling you is that if we're going to wait until Saturday, it's not going to be available. Now, if you find the house on Friday and they say they want to see it on Saturday, clearly now it works for me because I've got showing agents. At that time, I did have to, I will say that the things that we talk about are 90% of the time. 90% of the time, I was very good at controlling my calendar. 10% of the time, I was never going to let somebody miss a house because of my Saturday rule. So I would say out of 3, I would say if I broke it out into quarters, maybe once a quarter, I would actually have to show on a Saturday because someone was going to miss out on the opportunity for their house, like it would have sold that quickly or something else. It was very rare, though, that actually happened, that I had to make those adjustments. And if I did, then I made the adjustment and I worked Saturday and I took the full day Sunday off. I didn't let it bleed into both days. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. So it was sort of what you erased, you replaced, right? So that was your time off you took seriously and moved it when you had to. Am I hearing you right?
That's exactly right. And I would say no a couple of times before I made that adjustment because on a Friday, say I wanted to go to the lake Saturday. That's an easy example because it's summertime. And the house hit Friday at 9 a.m. and the people are like, gosh, I can't go today. I'm super busy at work. I can go tomorrow morning at 10. And I would say, because I would say, do you want to go Sunday or what do you want to do? And they would say, no, I want to go tomorrow. Gosh, I am worried that it's going to go fast. I'm looking at the numbers and I do think that there's a very real probability that we don't even get to look at it if it's tomorrow. I can meet you there, anytime today. What works best for you? Can you take an extra 30 minutes for lunch and meet me over there? I'll bring everything with me. Or can I go preview it for you? Can I go look at it and make sure it's exactly what you think it is? I don't do previews very often, but if it was going to protect my Saturday off, heck yeah, I would. Especially because half the time everyone knows buyers. Half the time they're making those demands when it's going to mess up your schedule. It typically doesn't really work out. There's something else that happens. So you could go to the house and do a FaceTime video so that they could see, there really is a trailer park next door, or there really is, a whatever, that was going to not work for them. Or if it did work, if it was the house, there's you guys, I've now been in it and I am telling you this is the house. I'm just going to sit here and wait for you. You've got to come. It's not going to be here tomorrow. There are ways to script around any of those issues.
Love it. And you find that most people, at least 90% of the time, if you offer that possibility of, coming over your lunch break. It's just that most agents probably that doesn't even occur to them to ask those questions, right?
That's right. They're so worried they're going to lose a client. They're so worried that the client is going to say, no, I have to work on Saturday and I'm going to call someone else. That has, I can't think of a time that happened. I mean, it must have, but that was certainly the exception and not the rule. That's a limiting belief, I think, that people are going to go use someone else or, and I never made it about me. I never said I didn't want to or I wasn't available. I always made it about the house wasn't still going to be there. Or if it was a house that I didn't think would move quickly, there are ways to say, the seller would really prefer for the showing to be on Sunday. They have things going on Saturday.
Perfect. Okay, so 2015, you added the lead generation, you added your MAPS coach. What happened in 2016?
So, the end of that year, the end of 2015, Aaron, my coach, and I really started talking a lot about where do we go from here? We've now capped out. You're continually reevaluating what your top 20% is. And so my top 20% activities were really starting to shift a little bit. And what I found was my ability to negotiate contracts and keep them together and do all those things were starting to be affected by the showing. So my coach and I talked a lot about, okay, what does a showing agent model really look like? There were people doing it. They were doing it, though, not at a super high level. And I wanted to do it differently. I wanted to do it in a way that the showing agent was excited about it, that it was a win for them. And I did not want it to be a high turnover position. And that's what I kept hearing from everybody that was already running it was, I can only have somebody for 3 or 4 months, or it's so hard to keep them accountable. And it's all of these things. And I thought, well, I don't want to find someone that's that hard to hold accountable. I want someone that wants to do this, that is bought into this. So we added in 2016, we added the showing agent model, and I added my first one in January and my second one in June. The goal was to close 160 units on the buy side, and we closed 182. And that was the first year that I was 50% of our team transaction count with the 2 showing agents. That's what we had been striving for. We wanted a balanced team of 50% listings, 50% buyers.
Perfect. And so, Jen, what would you say is different about your approach with the showing assistants that creates that stickability where they stay with you? Because these are people that are still with you. Is that right? That they're still in the company today?
Yep. I think what it is we made them part of our organization. They're not just a door opener. They're an expert in the field. They have pride in their role. They are in their top 20% of activities, so they don't have a ton of job stress. Their role is to show property, create a sense of urgency, and get people to the point of writing an offer. And when we were looking for people, that's what we were looking for. Not someone that was already an agent. I hired outside of industry, and I don't know that that's for everybody. However, I wanted people to do what I did. I wanted people to use my scripts. I wanted people to buy into my systems. And I wanted people to buy into our team. And so we made it where it was very, very specialized so that they come to work every day and they're excited. They don't want to do the paperwork. They hear what it's like to do all the paperwork. They don't want to do the negotiations. They hear me on the phone doing those during the day. And at some point they will want to do those. And I will find opportunity for them wherever they want to be on our team. I think what the shift is, though, the mindset shift is our clients are always the focus of our business. And now I've leveraged the piece of the relationship that is the emotional part of it. And I found people that are very, very good at that part of it. They build rapport quickly. They build confidence in themselves quickly. And so now my focus are my showing agents. They're my clients. So my goal every day is for them to hit their goal. And I will do whatever it takes for that to happen. And I think they're so bought into us because they know that I've got their backs. They know that I want them to win, potentially more than sometimes they want themselves to win. And I think that's the reason for the longevity. I think it was finally, this isn't all about me anymore. You know, they're the face of it now.
Perfect. And so I have a lot of questions about this. So one, where did you find them? You went outside the industry, and I've heard you talk about this before with Dan, that Dan is her Rainmaker, that you had a very specific goal with these showing assistants joining your organization, right? A goal around their income?
Yeah, I wanted to double their income their first year.
Right.
So
go ahead. Tell us where you found them and
Yeah, since I'm in Springfield, Missouri, you know, median income here I think is $35,000. And that's roughly what both of the showing agents were making. And I wanted them in their I wanted them to double their income in 24 months. The first year I wanted them to both make $50,000. And we did double it their first year. They both in their first year made over $70,000.
What?
In Springfield with an average sales price of $175,000.
Okay. And so I know everyone wants to know, how are they compensated? What is the compensation plan with your showing assistants?
So the compensation plan is they make a base salary of $18,000 a year, which is $1,500 a month. And they make a bonus of 12.5% of the 3% on the buy side. And when I was doing the math for them, you know, I said, let's base your average sales price at $150. If our market average is $175, let's base yours at $150, because I don't know, you know, what's going to happen. And I'm pretty conservative with money and with numbers. Our margin is so small that I have to be. So what that would look like is on a $150,000 sale, their bonus would be $562.50. My minimum was that they have 5 closings a month, which would be 60 in a year, and it would work out to be, with that plus their salary, roughly $48,000. Well, what happened is our average sales price didn't fall just because we were doing more units, and they were able to sell more than 5 a month. So it worked out that they made quite a bit more than I thought they would make. And that's great.
Perfect.
I made more money than I thought I was going to make too. So it worked out fine.
That's a high class problem, right?
Yep.
Okay. So tell us about how the transition happened. So your lead generation person sets a buyer consultation. Is the showing assistant there, or do you do the buyer consultation? How does that work? And then ultimately, how does the buyer end up in the car with the showing assistant?
I do the buyer consult. The showing agent is not there. So their top 20% activities are not buyer consults. They're in showing. So my expectation is that they are in the field. If they're not in the field, then they are handling any lead nurturing. So somebody that's a 30-day buyer that they've already met with. So very rarely are they in a consult. They end up, and then we don't drive it. We meet everybody at a house. So they don't actually, you know, end up in a car with my showing agent. So what happens is during the buyer consult, I will say to them, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I am so excited to find you the best house at the best price. And you know how quickly this market is moving. We've already talked about that, you know, the pricing is going to be somewhere around 99 to potentially 102% of list price. We're in a very competitive market. What that tells me is we've got to be the first in. And in order to be the first in, I've got to make sure that I can get you in when the house hits the market and when it fits your schedule. So there is the occasion that I have an agent on our team that's an expert in the field meet you at the house instead of myself. Is that okay? And they say, oh, of course, sure. And then sometimes they'll say, well, will I see you? Or, you know, how often does that happen? I'll say, gosh, it doesn't happen that often. However, I find when it does that most people prefer the showing agent over myself because they are in and out of so many houses. They can actually give you a lot of really good ideas on the spot. And what's going to happen is if it is your perfect home, then I'm going to give you a call. We're going to run through the numbers, talk about what fair market value is, what we think the offer process needs to start on, and then we'll go from there. Does that sound like a good idea? Sure, it does. And they're excited because now those scripts are different than I used to use. I wasn't working around people's schedule before when it was just me. So now I have help. I have leverage. So now the offer is I am going to work around your schedule. I'm going to get you in when I need to get you in. It just might not be me. Is that okay?
Okay, got it. And so the showing assistants take them out. They find the home. Who writes the contract? Do you do that, or does the showing assistant do it?
I negotiate the contract. I have a contract to close person that's just buy side now that full time helps me, and she types up the contract. So I talk with the client. I set the dollar amount. Well, we have a conversation about the dollar amount. I give my assistant the offer information, and then she puts it into Dotloop.
Got it. Okay. So this is the model that you ran for 2016, and you did 182 units, right?
That's right. Yep.
Okay. And then what happened in 2017?
So 2017, I had the same 2 showing agents for the full year. 2017, the piece of leverage that I added was Jessica that we were just talking about that helped me out on the buy side contract to close. And she was really the only addition to my team within Dan's team last year. And we went from 182 units to 223 closed units. And the difference was once you have your people in place, you can add efficiencies. So you can start to play with, hey, what felt good, what didn't feel good, what worked, what didn't work, where are we dropping the ball a little bit that we could clean it up. And that was really, we had a more purposeful year last year where we had the same players and we were doing the same activities. However, everybody had a little bit more time on task, which made it go a little bit smoother.
Perfect. Okay. And so 2018, have you added anyone, or are you running with basically the 4 of you for 2018 as well?
So we're going to make a switch. There's one of the showing agents that is having some medical issues, and so she's going to take a step back, and I am actually promoting somebody else from within the team to take her spot. So it will be the same model, same number of people. They're just people switching roles a little bit to help one of them out in their personal life.
Got it. Okay. Got it. So, Jen, do you mind if we switch gears here a little bit? Because I think that one of the biggest things about you that makes this work and how you do it, it's how you think. So what do you think is different about the way you approach this versus other people that are buyer specialists, on teams? What's different about how you think?
I think that most buyer specialists that I have heard are so ready to leverage the showing that they leverage it before they have admin people in place. So my admin staff makes me look so much better than I am. And really what happens is I think a lot of buyer's agents and rainmakers also will want their buyer's agent to get a showing agent. This is a new hot topic. Let's get you somebody to help you with the showing. Let's do all this. And what happens is if you don't have the right admin leverage in place, you will become your showing agent's admin. And so I think it is so important to me all of the time for me to be in my top 20% and for the people around me to be in theirs. So the focus doesn't really stop with me. It's not, okay, well, my 20% is negotiating contracts and holding people accountable and coaching and training and all these things. I'm not only worried about that, I'm also worried about Kathleen, my showing agent's top 20%. I don't want her to set showings. She's not calling people. She's not mapping these showings. She's a highly productive person that has the potential to make a lot of money if I can focus her effort. And that's my role. My role is to put her in her 20%. So I think the difference is I think a lot of people use that leverage of a showing agent before they have the business to sustain it and before they have the admin in place. So that showing agent for me was really my last piece of leverage. I had built out all of my other systems and models. There was no question when I told them that they could sell 5 homes a month that we didn't have the pipeline for that. I wasn't nervous hiring them. I wasn't worried that I couldn't fill their bucket. I knew that I could because I knew what my numbers were. And I think that's the thing is my stake in this is that this is my baby. This is my team within Dan's team, and I'm responsible for it. And I take that very seriously, and I enjoy it so much. I now enjoy watching, the showing agents win with their clients and supporting them and helping them hit their goals. I like that. It's a lot of fun for me.
Okay. And so the building up that pipeline, having confidence that you were going to get to 5 a month with the showing assistants, can you tell us a little bit about how your team lead generates, what the sources are, and how you get those leads flowing the way that you did?
So we have 50% repeat and referral business is what our team is made up of, and that's listing side and buy side. We also have a massive listing business. So I am only 50% of it. I get a lot of attention because it's a little bit different on the buy side than it is on the listing side. However, we're carrying a large amount of inventory at any time, which gives us sign calls to get leads, which gives us internet leads on our listings. And then we do buy some, I know no one loves this, but we do buy some leads from Zillow. We spend, I think with Zillow, $800 a month. So it's not a huge amount. And we get a lot of ROI on it. I mean, we have a good ROI on it. And then we do open houses. So, it's a focused effort. We don't do 20 things, kind of halfway. We have 3 or 4 that we do really well.
Okay. So you have your 3 or 4 levers, and you all are experts at those, right?
That's right.
Got it. Okay. So with the showing assistants, how do you actively work to help them avoid burnout?
We're very protective of their schedule. So because I have 2, it's a little different. They have the opposite schedule. So for example, if one of them works 9 to 5, the other one works noon to 8. So a team meeting, for example, I wouldn't schedule until 1 in the afternoon. If someone's working until 8 p.m., I certainly don't expect them to come in at 9 a.m. for a team meeting, if that makes sense. I'm very courteous of their time off. So one of them works Saturdays, one of them works Sundays. They each have an additional day off during the week that's the opposite day. So, and we do, I think once a quarter they have a Friday through a Monday off. They get a week's vacation during the year. And certainly, I'm pretty laid back on that kind of stuff. If they're hitting their numbers and it seems like there's a burnout coming, I'll jump in and typically give somebody some time off. When I just had the one showing agent, I think people like to pretend that you get a showing agent and all of a sudden you're never in a showing again. It's not 100% accurate. I still at that point, I think I worked 1 night a week when we added the showing agent so she could have 1 whole night off. And I would still occasionally work a day during the weekend so she could have some time off. I tried to work the opposite of her so that she wouldn't get burned out then. You add that first showing agent to start getting some leverage with production. Once you add the second one, that's really when you're able to start stepping back from showing. So it's not this magic bullet of, here's one showing agent, let's work them to death so that I don't have to. They were still part of my team. She was a huge part of my team, and I wanted her to win. So I was willing to still help out and to, take some appointments so that she could have that downtime.
And how many hours per week would you say that the showing assistants are working now?
35 to 40.
35 to 40.
Yeah.
Making upwards of 75 to 100 grand in Springfield, Missouri, right?
Yep.
Okay. So their dollar per hour is really high. And with
I
them
would
in
love
place,
to be a showing agent. I joke all the time I'm going to come back as a showing agent. Yeah. I mean, they have the fun part.
Okay, got it. And so how many hours a week are you putting in now, Jen, with both of them in the game?
I would say it kind of varies seasonally, but 40, 45 tops. I mean, I would say the summer, 35. And it kind of ebbs and flows with what else is going on or if one of them is taking time off. But I am in the office at 8:30. I am gone by 4:30. I will step in on a night or a weekend very rarely. And that's really only if somebody is not well or is on vacation. And then I'll step in. I want them to win. I want them to have time off. So it's rare that I need to do that, and I'll still do it when I need to.
Okay. And can you tell us how does Dan show up as the Rainmaker to support you? How does he lead that makes you so willing to work as a partner with him? How would you kind of describe his role in your success with this?
Oh, he's 75% of my success. He's awesome. I don't know. I mean, I know you've talked with Dan. He's funny, really funny dude. But he is very supportive. He is the first one to say, okay, you're getting out of your top 20%. You're getting into this stuff. It's getting messy. What's the next piece of leverage that you need? He's pretty well all in as far as within our team. He treats me like a business partner more than, maybe an employee or just somebody on a separate level from him. I'm included in a lot of the leadership decisions on our team. I don't know. He's great. There's never been a limit to what he's been willing to let me do, and I've never made an income where he has said to me, okay, you're just a buyer's agent, or that's too much, or now you need to do this. He's like, okay, how do we make more? How do we do this? How do you make it easier? How do you make it and get more quality of life back? So I think I'm so bought into our team because not only just Dan, but our whole team is very bought into me. Everybody's really willing to jump in and help out, and it's a very good culture fit, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say we don't have disagreements or frustrations with one another sometimes. I'm very bossy. I think he would have answered that he's scared of me most of the time.
Okay, that's awesome. So, Jen, you've shared a ton here. This is really great, and I'm wondering if you would mind if we could just open this up to some questions for some of the people that are listening on the call. Are you good with that?
I am. I had built in about an hour, so I've got about 15 minutes.
Okay, perfect. So anyone that's on the call that would like to jump on, tell us who you are, where you're from, and then ask the question of Jen.
Hey, Jen, it's Olivia from Minneapolis. So 2018, what's the goal for closed units?
This is actually the first year we're not going to have a big production jump. My goal is 250 units.
Okay.
And to do that smarter, not harder. So same people in place, not a big jump in units, however, less fall through. Last year was a hard year. A lot of growing pains, not really growing pains, but just learning pains, I guess. So we had about 14% fall through last year. So the goal is 250 units at really getting it back down to that 10% fall through ratio.
Okay, great. And that's the 2 showing assistants and the admin, the full-time admin to support you, and then the ISA, essentially.
That's right.
Okay, great. And do you mind us asking who pays that $18,000 salary to each showing assistant?
I do.
Okay.
I pay my assistant too, my EA.
Okay. All right. Any questions from any of you that we have? Yep, go ahead.
Hey, Jen, Ian Haug here, a buyer's agent on the team. I have a question for you. It doesn't sound like you have, but have you personally dealt with a showing agent burning out or quitting on you?
I've got one now that is going to transition into another role. That the productivity started to slip, and I don't know if it was that or personal issues at home. But the second one that I hired will not be with the team much longer. And I've got somebody else, everyone tells you to build a bench. So we have done that, and we've got a good person stepping in. And that's really the first time I've seen it. Kathleen, that I hired first, has not had any issues. She continues to get better and stronger and, all those other good things that go along with sales. So yeah, I have recently.
Okay. Yeah. You kind of answered my question there, but you're obviously in a place where you're in a place in your business where you're relying on these showing agents, and I'm wondering what your specific system is that you have in place for when these showing agents were to quit on you.
So I would be neither of them. The one that will not be a showing agent anymore, she won't have quit. It would be really my decision. And what we have some measurables that are in place. So our culture is really strong on our team. It's very, we don't even have really turnover with admin, to be honest. So, or ISAs. I mean, our ISA, OSA team, the people that are on that, there's not anybody in that office under 2 years. So, I mean, we really play to people's strengths. So what we have accountability measures that are in place or our standards. And it's not like I'm having to harp on these showing agents every day of, hey, where are you at? What's going on? Where are your numbers? All those things. I've hired really highly talented people. When we started to see the slip with the second one, we had, conversations of, okay, here's how here are the corrections that we need to make. Instead of making corrections at the 15th month protocol, now we're going to have a daily plan of where you have to be with contacts, with, the number of people that you've shown, how many houses you've shown, those types of things. So we really get people that either buy in or self-recognize that maybe it's no longer the position for them. So yes, I do very heavily rely on our showing agents. And at the same time, we have a lot of licensed people in place on our team that I could promote to that job pretty easily if I needed to. They already know the scripts. They would really just need training on the showing part of it, which isn't, the hardest part.
Thank you.
Thank you. What have you thought about 2019 goal?
We have. So I'm actually going to, this is the first time I'm going to tell anybody outside of our team. I'm actually going to transition into being Dan on our team. He is the OP in our market center, and he is doing crazy good things there. And so he is going to really go 7th level, and I'm going to step into the CEO role of our team. So I'm going to need to replace myself, and I'm excited about it.
Awesome. I just pointed at everyone in the room and told them they're not moving to Springfield, Missouri.
Well, unless something else were to force it, no, I can't hire somebody else or somebody else.
Congratulations. That's awesome for you and the team. Anyone else on the call have questions that they'd like to ask?
I've got one more, Jen, if you don't mind. You said you went outside the industry and for hiring your showing assistants, and I think it's important to note that. Can you tell us what industry both of them were in and why you felt like they were a good fit for the showing assistant role?
Yes. Kathleen actually was in private banking where I bank, and I am one of the few people in America that I absolutely love my bank. So I would go in and I could see her with clients. I could see her with customers. She's somebody that you wanted to be around more. And my main lender is also at that bank, and he was thinking of promoting her to management and asked me to verify her DISC. So she did the DISC assessment, and it came to me, and I was like, uh-oh, that's what I want. She was a very high I, not much of a D, just enough detail, qualifications to, that she was going to be detailed and not get paralyzed by the details. And so I reached out to him and said, hey, she's awesome. I don't think she's management. I don't think that the D is strong enough. However, clearly she's your person. If it doesn't work out, let me know. Well, she didn't want to be in management. So I met with her. We went through, at that point, it was career visioning. It wasn't the KPA yet. So we went through career visioning with her and hired her. Cindy, the second one, she actually was in my sphere, and I went out with her. We were like going to a concert or something in a big group of people. She was in sales. She sold security systems. And she was one of those people that was like a magnetic personality. Every person that was around her wanted to be around her. I wanted to be around her. I wanted to spend more time with her. I was interested in what she had to say. And so I asked her, I was like, have you ever thought about getting into real estate? And she's like, yes, I have. And I've always been really worried about nights and weekends and all the stuff that goes along with it. And I was like, well, what if we could do it and it was only, 2 nights a week and 1 day of the weekend? And what would that look like? So she and same thing. We went through the process at that point that we did the KPA with her, and she was a great fit. Kathleen's been with us 2.5 years. Cindy will be 2 years now, and she's the one that's going to transition a little bit. So, that's a long run for a showing agent. Even with Cindy taking a step back or step out, 2 years is a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you weren't looking for a newly licensed person that you could just plug in and hope that they worked, right? You went and found people in your sphere that were professionals for that role.
I did. And, I just did this call with MAPS Coaching. They're thinking about putting a group program together for buyer's agents. And that question was asked, what were you looking for? And the answer was, I wanted someone that was coachable. I wanted someone that had a sense of urgency on their own. I wanted someone that wanted to learn and that would buy into my systems and models. I really didn't want to retrain somebody that had already been on another team or even been through, just one transaction on their own. I would have probably been okay with it, and I would not close the door to that. However, I was looking for someone. I'm a hard sale. Like I would be a hard person to show houses to, I think. I am very particular. I want just enough personality, not too much personality. I don't want somebody saying, here's the kitchen or whatever else people say that makes me laugh. So I was like, I want to find someone that I want to spend more time with. If I like them and I think that I can't wait for the next conversation, that's someone that I can't wait to train. That's someone I can be in business with. And that's someone that's going to appeal to a lot of people. I wanted somebody that, regardless of price point, regardless of socioeconomic status, any of those things, that could build rapport very, very quickly.
Got it. So you had so much clarity on that going for or into the hiring process. You knew exactly who you were looking for, and that made it an easy decision for you to find them, right?
It did, because it made the no's easier. It made the people I knew does that make sense? The no's were easy because I knew what I wanted and what I didn't want. The yeses took me a little bit longer because I was like, I got to make sure.
Okay, perfect. Anyone else have a question before we end today?
Yeah, I do. Nate Pence here, also Minneapolis. What kind of expectations do you have did you kind of put in place for the showing agents starting out in terms of lead generation, in terms of contacts they bring to the team, stuff like that?
So they are not lead generators. They are lead nurturers. So the value that we provide as a team to them of why they would be with us versus going out on their own or being a buyer's agent for someone else is that we're going to provide the lead. So my standards are how many you're putting under contract a month, what your conversion rate is based on how many appointments we're setting and what that conversion rate is of people that are going under contract with us. And as far as the referrals to the team or bringing in business, we do expect people to bring in a certain amount per year of referrals. And that is, it's not really actually a very big number. I think it's like 2 a month or something, and they always exceed it because there's an extra bonus for that. Because we always think Josh would pay another agent a referral fee. So if they bring somebody in, they're on our team, they get to work with them, they should get a little bit of an incentive. So that one I've never had an issue with. So now I should know this, but I'm not sitting in my office, I'm sitting in my car to avoid everyone. So I think that's 2 a month. The minimum standard of contracts a month is 5. However, it's been a year since anyone did under 8 in a month. So, typically they're exceeding what those standards are.
Perfect. That answered that question. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've got about 5 minutes. Anybody else? Going once? Twice? Okay. Jen.
Thank you
if we
so
have,
much.
Yeah, and if we have referrals, what's the best way to get those to you?
Well, either the Kelly app or my phone number. Maybe my email is easier. Probably email is easier. Jen Davis, JenDaviskw@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jen. Everybody's better for this. We really appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you.
You're so welcome. I hope you guys
much.
all have an awesome day.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Jen.
All right, bye.
See ya.
Well, I've been sitting here all day, I've been sitting in this waiting room, and I've been waiting on my friends, yes, I'm waiting on this conference call, all alone, and I'm on hold, well, yes, I'm on hold. I hope it's not all day.